Hi guys, welcome to Shawn Watson Davis TV. I have here with me today a special guest. His name is Dr. Clarence Underwood, and he has agreed to sit with me in celebration of his 90th birthday. Wow, 90 years, Clarence. That is quite an accomplishment in and of itself. Happy birthday.
Thank you so very much. It took a long time to get here. I've been waiting.
That is wonderful. Well, I am so excited to be here with you today. I see you at church, and I'm like, I know this man has stories galore. And the first time that you really touched my heart was when you were the guest speaker for the presentation of our graduates at church. And I love educators. I loved the passion, and I just felt your heart that day. And that's been years ago.
Yes, it is.
And here we are today. Finally, I'm able to visit with you and to really learn more about you. So I am so excited for this interview, and I thank you for agreeing to do this with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
So I'd like to start from the beginning. I'd like for you to share with us when you were born, where you were born, to whom you were born. Let's start there.
Okay. I was born October the 10th, 1933, in Marion, Alabama, to Clarence Sr. and Iola Underwood, mother and father. We lived on a farm, as I understand from my parents, until I was about, I think, less than 1 year old. And we moved for more productive employment, moved to Gaston, Alabama, which at that time was the fourth largest city in Alabama, mostly industrial town. So from the farm to the industrial town, so we could have more money. I have to tell you that there were 11 children in our family. Really, there were 13. 2 of them died stillborn. So I was number 5 out of 11 children that lived. In Gaston, we lived in a 3-room house where we slept 3 to a bed. And my father worked at the lumber company. My mother never worked. She stayed home. I guess she couldn't work with 13 kids being born every 2 years.
Absolutely. She was working her tail off at home.
She sure was. And I really, truly admire my mother more now than I did when she was living. Not that I didn't love her and did not admire her, but now when I realized that my mother single-handedly fixed 2 meals a day. We had big breakfasts and we had big dinners. Lunch, you sort of fend for yourself. Get you a piece of fruit somewhere and wait for dinner. But she made all those meals herself. I mean, she was never absent. And 2 meals a day for, I think she lived until she was 72. And my daddy died at age 69. But trying to take care of 11 children and a husband the way she did, and the happiness we saw in our family. We moved to Gaston, then we had a house, small house, but we had a fireplace. So it was a common thing for, at night, after we'd had dinner, to sit around the fireplace and do so many good things, sing songs, do homework, just play around, just have fun until about maybe 9 o'clock that night. And then we would have to get ready to go to bed. But we had a lot of fun as that family growing up with all those children involved. I used to say, and my brothers and sisters, those who lived with me and lived longer than a short period of time, I would say when I was about maybe 6, 7 years of age and onward, our bedroom for the children, at least for the ones I slept with, was adjacent to my mother and father's bedroom. And when she was giving birth to one of the children, and after birth was done, I would always say when the baby started crying, "Here comes another one." And it just seems like they kept coming. And when you're poor and you don't have a lot of money, and you can't get what you want, and then here comes another one. Oh boy, you think it's envy for a little while, but then love started floating in, and it becomes a lot of fun sitting around that fireplace. We would eat after dinner. We would eat sweet potatoes, baked sweet potatoes. We would have peanuts, and just having a great time. While my daddy would try to play various instruments. He tried to play, had a guitar, and he had a piano, and he had a harp, and he couldn't play any of them. But he tried every night. We would laugh, get a kick out of it, because he could, the guitar would really play three things, say three things. And he said, doom, 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 and that meant, I believe I go to bed, and that was about it. We had a lot of fun with my dad.
That was the signal, huh?
That was the signal, right?
The end.
That's right, yeah. So we had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
We went to elementary school. We had to walk about 3 miles in an all-black school, and high school was different situation. So elementary school was grades K through 6, and then high school was grades 7 through 8. And so I finished elementary school and then went to the high school. And I can't tell you why it happened, but I went out for the varsity football team in 7th grade. Now, that's something unheard of. But I was a little boy out there in 7th grade, and I played in two games that year, 2 games out of 9. And then I played baseball with the city league team, well, what I call old men, but they were probably college-age young men, recently married young men. But I played shortstop on that team, and we traveled around some cities in Alabama and also in Georgia to play baseball every summer. So my whole life was born on truly sports. Baseball, football, run track, and anything else, any kind of ball that came into my view of my hands, we would play ball. But we had balls in the streets, so girls and boys joined together in the neighborhood, and we'd get in the street and play a baseball game. So I've always been involved intellectually and physically in sports, and it was my passion.
Gotcha. So graduation from high school was graduation from 8th grade.
From 12th.
From 12th.
Yeah, 7 through 12 was the high school.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. And so season number 2, what was going on after graduation from high school?
I was captain of my football team in high school for 3 years. And so when I finished, I had a scholarship offer from Tuskegee to come there and play football. But they also wanted me to run track, play baseball, and football. And as a young man, I just felt that was too much and try to study and make good grades in college. But I was inclined to go there. The scholarship was in my hand to sign and send back. I never did send it back, but I should have. I think I should have. But I chose to go to the military services because a friend of mine named Walter Bond, Walter was 2 grades ahead of me in high school. So Walter went to Alabama State University, and he came home that summer. I saw him in town, the town part of Gaston. I saw Walter. I said, Walter, how are you doing and how was school? He said, college was fine, but I ran out of money. He said, I cannot go back my sophomore year. He said, I'm going to go and volunteer for the military services serve 2 years, and when I get out, Uncle Sam will pay my way to college. He said, "Why don't you think about that?" And I did. And I followed his pattern. I went to the post office, signed up for the military, and went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And there I joined the Airborne. I left for Fort Jackson, went to Fort Bragg for the Airborne training, but I did sign up at Fort Jackson. And I was in the Airborne for 2 years, had many jumps, all scary, but I had them. When they're over, you're so glad that you did that. But it was really a scary thing. But it was a tough thing too. Physically, it was really tough to get yourself in position, in condition, to become a paratrooper.
Gotcha. So this was the Air Force.
No, Airborne, Army Airborne.
So Airborne was a different. I'm not familiar.
Okay.
Do they still have that?
Oh yes, they have that. They jump out of planes. If, for example, if I didn't go to war at the time, the Vietnam War was the one that was in session. If I had gone to war, most likely I would have been in a plane that flew about 1,000 yards off the ground, and I would jump out of the plane and land, and all the people with me would do the same. There may be 300 guys in the plane. Mm-hmm. We all would jump out and then set up for our mission, whatever it might have been. So that's what I did. I had maybe about 25 jumps.
Wow.
Yes.
I am totally unfamiliar with that entity of the military.
Yeah, it's still there.
And it's still there.
Still there.
Incredible.
Yes. Army Airborne.
Okay.
Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, it's a division of the Army.
Yes.
Okay.
Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Got it.
Was, yes.
All right.
So I served 2 years there.
Okay.
And then I had really planned to sign the contract and go to Tuskegee when I left the Army, because financially, I was all set college-wise. Uncle Sam's going to pay for everything. Well, January the 1st, 1954, which I'll never forget, I was on guard duty. So in the Army, probably in the other forces, other parts of the Army too, the Air Force, but I was assigned to guard duty. Guard duty is when you patrol your base, your camp, where you live, and looking for enemies. So you give your rifle and they say patrol this area, and you do that for like 2 hours, and then you get maybe an hour off, maybe 4 hours, then you get an hour off. So I was on guard duty, and it was 8 o'clock at night, and I came in for my first ship relief, just to come in and get some rest for a couple hours. And the TV was on, and the football game was on. Michigan State University was playing UCLA in the Rose Bowl. I had heard of the Rose Bowl, but hadn't seen the Rose Bowl because we didn't have a television in our house. So I started looking at the Rose Bowl game between those two major universities, and I was shocked at what I saw. In Alabama, it was totally segregated. You had no power, you had no authority, you worked for other people, and so I had never seen at that period of time in my life where whites and blacks worked together in a social way to do something worthwhile. I just hadn't seen it. It's all segregated. Blacks on one side, whites on the other. Same thing with living. Michigan State had, I would say, about 15 blacks on that football team. UCLA had less, but nevertheless, they all were impact football players. I was so surprised to see that, those blacks and whites playing together against each other in a great football game. And I was so impressed with the black athletes on Michigan State's football team. They had so many. And they was, like I said, impact players making a big difference in the game. And I said that night that when I leave the military services, I'm going to go to Michigan State University. And that's what I did. I got out, went to Michigan State. In fact, I married my high school sweetheart in the Army, and we had a child. And the child was 3 weeks old as we left Fort Bragg, North Carolina, going to Michigan State University. And I had never been north. My wife hadn't been north, but we had this 3 week old baby. So I didn't know. I had applied for married housing on campus, but when I got there, they had none. They said it was full. Had to wait till somebody leave. They would then try to put me in, fill me in. So I told Norris, my wife, and the little baby, Jackie, to wait in the train station until I went and tried to find a place for us to live. And so I walked around, and I saw a black man walking down the street. I asked him, where do black people live here? Like they do in Alabama. They're segregated, but they weren't segregated here as much as they were in Alabama. So he told me, he said, well, how many of you? I said, there's 3 of us. He said, you can stay with me. My wife and me, you can stay with us. He lived on Butler Street. So we went and stayed with them for about 6 months, and then the university called and said they had an apartment on campus, and we moved there.
Wow.
I found
What was that man's name?
Booker, Mr. Booker.
Mr. Booker.
Yes, I don't know his first name.
Okay.
He had a wife but no children,
Okay.
so we stayed with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good place to stay. They gave us a kitchen to share and all the rooms, and so we had a nice time there.
Wow.
Until Michigan State called. So that was our life. We lived on campus, 3 of us. Then pretty soon there came a second one. So we had a second child on campus. And then in 1962, I had was ready to graduate in kinesiology. And I had planned to really go back to Alabama and become a head football coach. That's what I really wanted to do. That's what my passion told me to do. That's what everything indicated I should do that. But that summer, the spring of the year, I had to do student teaching. And I was lucky to get East Lansing as my school to do student teaching. I was the first black teacher in the city of East Lansing. But before I got there, we only had about 3 other blacks, students in East Lansing, and their parents also lived, they were going to school like I was, lived in Spartan Village. So I try to help those black students, just identify with them and speak to them often and talk to them when others wouldn't. But I student taught, I had a tremendous experience student teaching. And I think they looked at me like a novelty. I had to appear before the parents often to expose what programs I would offer these kids. And I was ready. So it wasn't anything I was playing around. I was ready to offer a first-class program to these kids. And I had 5 schools to go to, 2 schools a day. And then one day it was 1 school. So when I finished my student teaching, last day there, I was going out the door and I said, oh, I got a mailbox. So I had to check my mailbox. And there was a letter in there. On the letter, it says, Clarence, I wish we had an opening. Well, I just said, this is East Lansing. Blacks can't live in East Lansing. They only have 3 kids in the school system from campus. They're not going to hire me, so I wasn't even concerned about that. I went home, opened the envelope, and there was a petition in there, signed by about 200 kids, asking the principal to hire me. And so first he said, we don't have an opening. But I think some of the kids told their parents, and the parents called the superintendent. And then he called me, the superintendent did, and offered me a job, a part-time job, which I took. And then from there, he got to be teacher of the year and all those things, which I was grateful for. They hadn't planned for anything like that happening to me, but we stayed here in East Lansing for 7 years teaching. And then I got a call one day from a friend who lived next door to me in Spiden Village. He had a family too. He had gone to Northern Michigan University to work. He called me and said, how would you like to work at Northern? I said, oh, Jim, I don't want to work at Northern. He said, no, I'm serious. So we've just put on campus in Northern a women's job corps center. 300 young women ages 16 to 21. We would love for you to come and get involved in the program. Maybe be a recreation director. So that's what they did. They offered, I accepted, I went there. We family just went there and didn't have a good time. I have to admit that my wife didn't like the cold weather there. Snow, I didn't either, but it was a job for me to take care of my family.
Northwestern is located where?
It was Northern University.
Northern University.
Northern, yes.
And where is that located?
Marquette, Michigan.
Marquette.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, it's cold up there.
Ooh, yes.
Snowed every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day it snowed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was there 2 years, offering recreation program for the young women. And then I played softball there on a team. And there was a guy there I did not know, but he played on that team too. But I saw him but did not know him. He was the vice president for the University of Wisconsin, excuse me. There's a difference. And so he called me, and also I got a call from East Lansing again, asking me would I come back to East Lansing work. And I kept telling them no, I was satisfied at Northern. And then a friend from Wisconsin called. He wanted to hire me at Madison in some capacity. And so this is what I told him. I said, East Lansing's asked me again. My wife would like to go back there to live with our children. And I said, if Wisconsin offered a job first, then I would certainly consider going there. But if East Lansing offers first and Wisconsin's come second, I'm going to turn Wisconsin down. Because I'm not going to play with these kids in East Lansing. I'm not going there again and then leave. I'm going to go there to stay. Well, sure enough, East Lansing offered first. And I came back to East Lansing. Then the guy from Wisconsin called me. He said, well, we got everything set up now for you. I said, no, I'm too late. I'm sorry. I've told you the situation before I left there. So he said, let me ask you a question. What if we means the University of Wisconsin Board of Education, what if we asked your board to release you to come to Milwaukee? Would you come? I said, if you do it, yes, I'll do that. And that's what they did. I got released. I went there in January. And it was, again, they wanted me to be a youth agent. And what that really was, they had a lot of young programs there for kids in school and out of school. Those primarily be kids that plan to go there when they finish high school. Some were in programs there for high school grads, high school undergraduates. And so they wanted me to be involved in that. So I got involved, and I was there for 7 months. And I saw where they didn't have the money to fund the programs I had developed. So I left. I resigned and came, and then I was going to come back to the Michigan Department to East Lansing. I get a call from the Michigan Department of Education asking me would I come work for them in a Title I program that was designed to improve the learning capacity of disadvantaged children. So I was assigned to the southwest part of Michigan. And that was a great program. I really enjoyed that. I felt that I could do some good there with young people. But then I get a call 7 months later, from Michigan State University. They were having issues with the black student athletes because students claimed there was racism on campus, and socially there was racism, and they wanted the university to make some improvements, or they were going to strike. So, university made those improvements. They asked me to come in, be assistant director of athletics in charge of athlete student affairs, and I did that. Came to Michigan State again for 7 months, and I found out they had no job for me. I was just there. They hired me, put me in the ticket office to count tickets, but nothing beyond that. So, I mean, I was full of life. I mean, I was full of energy and want to help people, but I wasn't there to count tickets. So I resigned. And I went back to the Michigan Department of Education. That's one thing you find in my life. I've always gone back if I wanted to. So I went back to the Michigan Department of Education. And a year later, the Michigan Department of Education director told me that MSU had called them again, and they wanted me to come back. They had fixed everything. They claimed that I didn't like the first time I was out here. So I did come back to Michigan State. And this time I stayed for 14 years. Yeah. I found a job I really liked. I was in charge of student athletes. I was their mentor, making sure they took the proper courses to graduate, making sure they took enough classes each semester to graduate, and made sure they graduated. That was the toughest job I've ever had, but the best job I've ever had. I put in a lot of good programs in that are still going on today. So I really did like that. Mm-hmm. Then I get a call from the Big Ten Conference Commissioner in Chicago, asking me would I mind joining that staff. So I did. Tough decision to leave East Lansing with all your friends and the kids' friends and all that, your connections, your medical appointments. But to give that all up to go to Chicago, a strange community, I did that. And I was there, and I was in charge of men's programs, like director of athletics, football coaches, basketball coaches, soccer coaches, all of the men's sports. It was my role to make sure I monitored those programs and meet with those coaches, make sure I took all the action issues out of those meetings that we had and follow up on those, make sure they were done, and make sure I met with those groups once a month. And that was a great job, another great job. I enjoyed that job. And then Michigan State again called me. And would I come back, and this time I would be the senior associate director of athletics next to the director, and I would be number 2 guy in the department. And also would resume monitoring student athletes' welfare issues. So I enjoyed all that. And the university then made me director of athletics in 1999 until 2001 when I retired.
And did that make you the first African American?
No, I was second.
You were second?
Yes.
Okay.
I was second.
Okay.
The other man served for a year, I think, and then he resigned. Okay.
And what was his name?
Merritt Norvell.
Merritt Norvell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Merritt Norvell.
All right.
Yeah.
So the second African American director
of athletics.
Of athletics.
Yes.
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah. Then the provost, who is the chief academic officer for the university, Dr. Simon, asked me would I work in the admissions office. She wanted me to be a liaison between Michigan State University and the urban school districts throughout Michigan. And my job was to travel and create environment between our entities that would help us to recruit more and better students, not athletes, students from these universities, colleges, high schools and come to Mission State. I did that again. I think it was 7 years. I don't know why the 7 keeps popping up, but that was
Right.
7 years
Yeah.
ago. And that was another great job I had. And then I retired after that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
A lot of work running around.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of changing jobs. But each job I had was better than the one before. It was more diverse. It was more money involved, better opportunities to help the university I'm working for, the department, what it might be. And I took advantage of all that.
Absolutely.
All of it.
Absolutely.
And I when they gave me All-American, they didn't give it to me, they gave me All-American, Hall of Fame, all those things. I had deserved all those. I'm not going to be modest about that. I had worked hard. And I deserved what I got.
Yep.
Sure do.
Absolutely. It comes through to me very powerfully that, again, you're hurt because you had to be effective in order to feel at home in the job.
Yes. And
you just were not going to be satisfied. Your heart just was not satisfied if the conditions were not right.
That's right.
For you to be effective.
That's right. And I told someone the other day that I didn't take a job because it's a job that paid more, gave me opportunities. If I couldn't do what I was doing that job, then it was useless. I mean, these were not easy jobs.
Correct.
And but I did it my way, and my way it proved out to be the best way, and at least for the job I was doing at that time. And so, but if I couldn't do that, then I didn't want the job. It wasn't worth it.
Absolutely.
And I never sold myself.
Absolutely.
Nope, nobody could buy me.
Absolutely.
And they tried.
Absolutely.
But couldn't do it. I've always used God as my anchor.
I see it. I feel it.
And my mother.
Yes.
And nope, couldn't buy me.
Outstanding.
Nope.
Outstanding.
Still won't buy me.
Right. Right. Just outstanding.
Yes, I wasn't trying to be the big head. That's just who I am.
Right. Exactly. Just your internal compass.
That's right. Yes.
The way you were made.
That's right. Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So tell me about your personal life. You were married to your high school sweetheart.
Yes.
Tell me about when you all became romantic. How old were you? Tell me about her personality. You said your first child's name was Jackie. Was
Yes.
that a son or a daughter?
Daughter.
Your daughter, Jackie.
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline.
Yeah, they call her
Okay.
Jackie. Yes.
And your second child was
A boy. Alvin.
Alvin.
Yes.
Okay, Alvin.
Then the third was David.
And the third was David.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Tell me about all these wonderful people.
So, like I said, I've told some people this, but I like to tell a lot of parents this. And maybe this is my chance God gave you the opportunity to call me and ask me to be on your program today. Because I'm going to say something that I've been wanting to tell parents as a group for a long time, but I really haven't had that occasion. I've had a chance to speak to a lot of people, but it just didn't surface then. But I want to say it now. Somehow it's surfacing. I started playing sports, as far as I can remember, probably in third, fourth grade. I mean, on teams. I was playing on little league teams, all those things. My siblings didn't. They would play in the streets, but they weren't on a team. I was on a team at my elementary school. I was out for the 7th grade for the varsity football team, and as I told you before, at Carver High School. And I went right through. ninth grade, I'm captain of the football team. Now that's unheard of. You get the seniors and juniors and the sophomores and all that, but I'm captain of the football team. I'm a captain of the football team through 12th grade. 3 years, captain of the football team. I didn't ask for this. The coaches and the players. So when I'm a 7th grader, I'm going to tell it like it is. These seniors in our high school, very good football players too. Seniors and juniors and sophomores. I'm a 7th grader. And so, you know, football players, athletes are very popular, especially with opposite sex, with girls. And so they would be invited, seniors would, to these in-house parties the girls were giving. And I would go there as a 7th grader, and these guys are 12th graders and 11th graders, 10th graders. Well, I'm in the corner someplace. I mean, I wasn't dating. I mean, I'm on leave. I just want to go home now. It's 10 o'clock. And I mean, they were socializing and dancing and all that stuff. I mean, to me, it was boring. I didn't want to be there. But everything that they thought were good, they means the upper class in my high school, they thought was good. It was on the football team. Because I was captain of the team, Clarence, you have to go. Come go with us. You must go, Clarence. You the captain. Well, there's no captain. There's no captain in somebody's house socializing, drinking beer. I'm in the corner, and they said, well, so anyway, that's the environment that I was sort of encouraged, urged, equipped to be in. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. So what I want to tell parents, don't let your child be there. I don't think that's a good environment. It wasn't good for me. Because, I mean, 8th grade, now they're coming after me. Because I play in more games in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows my name now. Name's in the paper and all that junk. Mm-hmm. Well, you're popular. Mm-hmm. And the girls come after you. Mm-hmm. And then they're there drinking beer, drinking homebrew, and partying and dancing and all that. Mm-hmm. And they expect you to take a part in it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think really, truly in my heart, that I should have been there. Mm-hmm. And I don't think any 7th grade kid need to be with a senior in some party where it's a mixed party. Mm-hmm. And they're socializing. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong other than drinking a beer, which we was told not to do. Mm-hmm. But still, the environment is not right. Mm-hmm. They're not talking your language. Mm-hmm. You know, they're not acting where you should be acting 7th, 8th grade. Mm-hmm. So my language, my advice to parents, if you have a son or daughter who are athletically gifted, mm-hmm. Keep them in the grade they're supposed to be in. Don't let the boys pull them away because they have been honored by being captain of the football team and all that, mm-hmm. which is a big deal for the football team and others. Mm-hmm. But so that's what my message I would like to say. Let your child be in the grade he should be in, and let him act that way too, mm-hmm. and not have these opportunities in social parties where everything happens. So that may be simple. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, mm-hmm. but it's just what I like to say to parents.
Well, you're speaking from experience.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we want you to do, is to share with us your experiences and your takeaways yes. from those experiences.
Right. Yes, so that's what happened there.
So then being the captain of the football team was fine, but what you're saying to parents, I just want to clarify,
yes,
is that if your child is accelerated in certain areas of life, shoot to maintain them in social environments with their own age group.
Precisely what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's precisely what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes.
So the leadership position was fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
But the expectation mm-hmm. from those that you are associated with mm-hmm. is higher than what you want to be.
Yeah, because now they're in relationship with you, so they
right.
want you to hang out. They want to hang out with
That's
you
right.
in social environments as well.
That's right.
I got you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I follow you.
Okay, that's
Okay.
what I want.
Okay.
So then I got to tell you about this situation.
Okay.
I don't know how much more time we have, but I want to tell you about this situation.
Okay.
I had a teammate who was a senior, and I was an eighth grader. And I liked him very much. He liked me. We worked together very well. But he had a cousin who went to high school too. She must have been in my grades, maybe a year, but maybe I was in 8th, she might have been in 7th. But she was a good-looking woman, good-looking girl. And as the boy said, she had nice legs and all that stuff. But she would hang around school every day during football practice, waiting for me to finish. So then she wanted to talk to me, and sometimes asked me to walk her home, which I seldom did because again I was 8th grade. I mean, I had to walk another mile and a half to get to my home. I don't know how far she had to walk initially, but I know it was over a mile. And I didn't feel right. I just didn't feel right doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, when I got to be a 9th grader, we started dating. And I would go to her house on Sundays. Her parents would be on the porch. We'd all be on the porch, front porch together.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would leave, and then she would walk me to the corner. And then we would kiss goodnight, and then she would go home, and I would go home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one Sunday night I was with her, and she had some other friends too. And forgive me for saying this, but it's her friends were the kind of girls that your mother said was fast.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know what all that means, but they were fast.
Mm-hmm.
So this one night, on Sunday night, I went to see her, and I left at the appropriate time around 9 o'clock, walked back home. Well, we got to the corner, and I wished her good night, and she started using profanity that I hadn't heard before. And why? I don't know. What did I do? I don't know what I did. She just started calling me all these names. But I just walked away, went home, thought about it all weekend. Saturday and Sunday, what in the world did I do? My coach, one of my coaches was a swimming instructor. So he had outdoor swimming class on the weekend. So I went down and talked to him about it. Why, trying to find out why she behaved that way. He didn't know. He just said, well, leave her alone. Just get somebody else. So I made up my mind that I can do better. And so Monday morning I said, I'm going to find me a new girlfriend. And I did just that. I saw a young girl in the hallway. I asked her for a name, and she told me. And I asked her, could I come see her sometime? She said, you have to ask my mother. So I said, where your mother live? She said, we live not that far, 3 blocks from school. I said, well, I'm going to go on my lunch hour. I'm not going to have lunch. I'm going to go and talk to your mother today.
Clarence, you were something
I don't
else.
know about
Just assertive as you can be. Goal-oriented.
So I went and talked
Focused.
to her. Yeah. So I went and talked to her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Mother said, well, who are you? Oh, her mother worked for the PTA. And the PTA sold food at the games, at our home games. And I didn't know her mother, didn't see her mother. So anyway, I told her I'd like to come see Norris. She wanted to know about my background. What's your daddy's name? Where he works? And told her. She says, well, what kind of grades you making in school? So I told her I was doing okay in school. She said, well, I've heard your name a lot out there in the football field. But I don't really know you, but I'm going to tell you something. You can come see my daughter on Sunday. You can come between 6 and 8. I said, okay. That's what I started doing. What a difference between Norris, the one I spoke to last, and the one that her brother, her cousin, was involved with. Mm-hmm. Night and day. Mm-hmm. So, I found Norris to be a very charming young lady, very nice. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I spent my next 2 years. she went to she dropped she joined she went from 11th grade to 12th grade by going to summer school to join me in the 12th grade. I was a year ahead of her.
Gotcha.
But, so I went to the Army. I was lonesome, really was lonesome. Didn't have any girlfriends around. And, I wasn't going to dare going downtown trying to find a girlfriend. Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I stayed on the post all the time and read, and primarily reading. Music wasn't that prominent back then. And then so Norris went to Alabama State University, and so we kept in contact with each other. And then after about 6 months or so, I asked her mother if we could get married. She said yes, so we did. Came here, then had Jackie, baby, and
wow.
that was it.
Beautiful.
That was it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you all were married for how long?
74 years.
74 years.
Yes. Wow. No, 64. Amazing. I want to apologize.
Okay.
64.
64 years.
64 years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful young lady. Really.
Wow.
Yeah.
So supportive.
Yeah, so supportive. I asked her when I went to Chicago, Norris, I want you to help me make this decision going to Chicago. No, Clarence, that's your job. You must do the work. We will adjust. You got to make that decision. If you don't like it, you're not happy there, nobody's happy. You must make that decision. I'm going to support you either way you decide. That's what she did. Same thing with going to Marquette, same thing. Nope, that's your job.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. A true warrior.
Yes.
In her own right.
Yep. Just a wonderful woman. I can't say anything about that woman, but good. That woman was a beautiful woman. I know God sent her in my life. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
And to your union, 3 children were born.
Yes.
2 boys.
2 boys.
And a girl.
Yes, and my youngest son is the only 3 that's married.
Okay.
Okay, and then he has the same pattern of children, girl and 2 boys.
Okay. Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Okay, so in terms of the seasons of your life, would you describe another season after Norris's passing, after the final job at Michigan State? Or would you say those covered the complete seasonal aspects of your life?
I think I had to go inside of Clarence and try to trace what I had done on both sides of the aisle, good or bad, and how could I improve what I've done? How could I document what I had done that would make sense to people? And so what I started doing, I started writing books. And I wrote 3 books. 2 were applicable to the experts in the field of athletic counseling, counsel student athletes, and coaching. And 2 of them were in that fashion. Then the last one was covering my life as best I could cover it, highlighting the things that I had traveled through and what I had learned from them. And then I progressed through that. And now I am thinking about what else can I do to help someone, help myself, or help family members. What else can I do? What is there to do beyond what I have done? And I really don't aspire to be in athletics anymore. I think I reached the peak of that. I think what I'm looking at now is uh, how can I help young people to look at life ahead, try to plan ahead in life, and look what that's going to come to and what's going to be involved in that, and then try to see if you can anticipate and plan and think and take suggestions easily rather than denying them. But I'm trying to think in a way that I can get young people together, a group, and hopefully it will be successful and grow. That they need to look at something for themselves that I can be around and help engineer and get others involved. So I'm looking at that. But what I'm doing right now, uh, my doctor told me, said, you've been involved in sports all your life, and you have a system that's different than mine, himself, the doctor was saying. He said, now, I would prefer that you not go home and sit down and watch TV and drink beer and die. That's what people do who have been involved in sports and other kind of activities and was busy, and then they calm that down to the point where they do nothing, just enjoy life. He said, I wish that you could find a job somewhere where you could walk maybe 4 or 5 hours a day doing something in some capacity, and then do that. And then if you don't like it, try to find another one that complements what you were doing in terms of walking and keeping in physical shape. So my daughter worked at Myers. She retired from Myers in East Lansing, Oakham's. So she asked me that I should consider going to a place like Myers and work in the what they call the it's not the supply room, but it's the room of where they bring in all the groceries and stuff. All the
Warehouse?
no, it's from the warehouse, but we call it a little bit different. But I would say the warehouse, yes. And so I work there now 4 hours a day, and I enjoy the young men I'm working with.
Yes, I can see
So
that.
we do a lot of lifting the boxes and teasing each other and laughing over it a lot, and it sure has made me joyful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit,
Okay.
because you are a phenomenon to have lived as an African American male, an American male, for 90 years. What do you think has contributed to your longevity?
I think there are 2 or 3 things, and I hadn't thought about that at this time until you brought it up. But I thought about it quite a bit when I was taking kinesiology, because I do at kinesiology, you have to take also physiology and anatomy and those kind of courses. I think the 2 things what I learned and what I see in my life, and that is the key to longevity is exercise, the proper exercise, and eating fairly way decently. I've always said, since I learned the scientific patterns of those things, if you eat, you must exercise. The body was not designed to hold in food that you've excessively eaten. It is to eat to sustain yourself, not to get fat. But you're not supposed to eat a lot of food, but you're supposed to do a lot of walking. If you eat, you must walk. You must exercise, put it that way, rather than walking. Walking is probably the overall best exercise there is, but you got to walk a long ways. You got to do 5 miles, 6 miles almost every day, and most people can't do that. They just don't have the attitude for that, don't have the interest. They get tired, they give it up. So try to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of everything you can do during the week that will help your longevity through what controlling exercise. I think the other thing is no question about it, has to be food. What you eat is who you are. So if you're eating the wrong food, and there's all kind of medical uh, dissertations on food eating and what foods you should eat, what foods you should be aware of, what foods you should not eat. But we eat what we like, and what we like sometimes is inappropriate, but we still eat it. We're hard-headed people. We still eat it, and so I have always tried to watch what I eat. Tried. Now, even though I now have diabetes, have had diabetes since 1990. Everybody in my family had diabetes. I thought I would never get it, but I got it. And so I have been, since that period of time, and the medication I take, so let me just put it this way, medication, I think proper rest, you need at least 6 hours of rest every night. Now, if you don't get that, I promise you something's gonna suffer. It's gonna hurt you. And we need to drink water, those simple things, drinking water, plenty of fluids, and most of water should be, and exercise. I found a combination of strength things like if you lift weights, I would say 30, 40 pounds, and maybe 50 pounds, anywhere in that range, it strengthens your muscles, keep your muscles strengthened. If you walk, it's going to protect your heart, will help your heart a lot, your cardio system, and just moving, just move, rather than sitting all the time. I think people who sit a lot really have not prolonged their life. They have a shorter life because the muscles weren't made to just sit. It was made to keep moving, doing things most of the day. But a lot of us, when we retire, we think that, well, that's it. I've done all my work now. No, you got to maintain that.
That's right.
You got to keep doing something.
That's right.
And not just give it up.
That's right.
So I've always had a notion about exercise, always. And then I've had since my wife was an excellent cook. I just have to give her credit. She was just an excellent cook. I don't think anybody ever had a food and said it was bad. Everybody praised her food. She was just born like to be a cook. And so I watch what I eat. I try to at least. I am still weak for sweets, but I try to watch what sweets do I eat when I do eat them. And you should eat sweets. Most of your heavy meal between the hours of 12 o'clock and 8 at night. That's when you're most active.
Right.
And then after that, you're sleeping or you're sitting there doing things that maybe you shouldn't do as long. So I give exercise, and that came from God. It didn't come from me because I'm like everybody else. But I'm always been involved in sports, always. And even now, I don't play sports anymore, but I do walk.
Right. Yeah,
I
you're
do
still
lift.
very strategic.
Yes.
About continuing to place yourself in situations that would accomplish those physical goals that you have.
That's exactly right. Yes. So I guess I'll do that until I die. So
hey, it's working.
It's working.
It's working for you.
It's working for me at least.
That's for sure.
That's right.
And you said that you were diagnosed with diabetes 33 years ago.
33 years ago.
And the medication that you take is which? Which one do you take?
I take metformin, Januvia. Let's see, one another called a P. It's called, I don't have that one with me right now, but it's, there's one more I take.
It'll come to you?
Yeah.
It starts with a P?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'll give it to you.
Okay. Yeah, you are certainly doing things very rightfully and worthy of learning about, worthy of imitation.
Thank you.
I want to circle back to the 64-year marriage. Marriage is a two-person sport.
Yes.
And I think that that is why marriage is so hard for people to accomplish in terms of those anniversaries.
Right.
Okay. And so tell me and tell us about your insights on what worked, what caused you to accomplish this goal with Norris of living until death do you part as a married couple for 64 years.
One of the, at least I have found, one of the major issues that create problems in marriage is your ego. Everybody wants to be self-centered. They want to be the ones to make the decisions. They want to be the ones to do this, to do that. They want to be the first ones in the family, or the first ones between a couple, to one to be the best. What's hard is taking the second seat and let the first person do what they can do best. Whoever can do best in a marriage, let them do it. And we don't take credit by she or he. It's us. It's we. But we get into a situation where we want to be the big man, the big woman, and we want to be the first with the ego out there telling your partner what they should not do, what they can't do, because I'm your so-called supervisor, or whatever it may be, whatever name people use. That's the number one problem. But I mean, let me go back. There's one more. There's one more that's higher than that. And that is, and I will tell anyone this anytime, anywhere. If you don't love each other, please don't get married. You can't fix it. It's not going to fix. They're two different people. Total different people. And they need to adjust to each other. Or maybe don't have to adjust. Well, you have to adjust in terms of, if you want to do something and I want to do it too, and I want to, well, no, just somebody has to surrender. Somebody has to say, you know what, that's wonderful, I want to do that, but I love my partner, and I want to be around for a long time. I'm not going to let this one little thing cause us problems. I'm going to sacrifice that. And keep your mouth shut. Don't say, I gave you something. No, you gave nobody anything. You just have to surrender. Because it's all a part of you. The Bible says that if you live together and you love each other and you behave the way you should behave and behaving to God, the two becomes one. It happens. I'll know how you think, you know how I think. You know what to surrender to, I'll know what you surrender to. We're going to think alike. We become one. And then soon, decisions we make together, it's the same thing, it's one. Who cares whether you make the decision and it makes $100,000, or I make the decision because of $100,000? Like, this is all mine, that's all yours. No. It becomes one. But you got to think that way. And you can't go in like Putin, a one-way street, my way or no way. But you have to blend together. And but if you don't have, I promise you, you can't fix love. It got to be a natural process. I promise you, you can't make it come, because there's so many differences between the couples. And no two couples are the same. I don't care what anybody says. Even when the Lord said you become one, you become one in understanding each other. And you don't have any envy or anything that will cause problem between the two of you. You understand each other. And I think those are the two common requirements for really a marriage. If you don't love someone, please don't, because I promise you, in 4 or 5, 6, 7, 10 years, you're going to get tired of the person you're with because you don't love them. Mm-hmm. So, first thing I would say to anybody, I got a grandson, I think he's getting married next June. And I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm going to talk to him and tell him the same thing. You got to bite the bullet. If you don't think you love this person, please don't get married. You ruin somebody's life.
Right.
And you shouldn't do that. But it's all because of ego. Ego adds up to zero. It's nothing there. Just what you want. Impulses at that point in time make you think you want something so badly, and you're so important that the other person is subordinate. No, equal. So I just think that's what it is. And it's love. Something Jesus gives you doesn't cost a penny. We have to accept it and use it. And that's what it is.
Amen. Amen. And Clarence, what about traditions or activities that supported the maintenance of your love? What kinds of things did you all do as a couple? Did you travel? What did you do for birthdays, Christmases, anniversaries? What kinds of supportive routines, did you always greet each other with hugs and kisses upon entering and exiting? Whatever it is that you feel were the supportive concepts and traditions and routines even.
Those you mentioned are outstanding, and I think that's what the Bible talks about, becoming one. So if you have a great hobby that you're doing and I don't want to get involved, then I don't have to get involved. I just support you. And but if I'm going to resist everything you suggest because you happen to think of it first, and I'm going to resist, then there will never be any loyalty and love there. But now, we didn't do a lot of things of that nature. We talked about things. We would sit at the kitchen table and talk about what we want to do for next month or next year, what our goals are for next year, and let's work on those together. But if two people are working and one person says, I'm going to rule the money, and the other person disagrees, well, I'm going to tell you, you got a major problem. Somebody has to give in. And if Norris was better at handling the money, which she was, than I was, let her handle the money. And my sports things that I was involved in always, from the university down to just individual desires to go to a baseball game or so, I didn't beg her to go. I asked her to go. If she said no, I'd rather stay home, that's fine with me. And I would be loyal to her. She's loyal to me. But we didn't fight over assignments, anything of that nature. We had to do them. Somebody had to do them. And if I chose to do it, she said, I'll help you, fine. But I didn't see the need for us to fight over anything. We're together. And we're supposed to make decisions together. And I think it's wrong for a man to sit down and make all the plans, leave his wife out. You sit down together and make those plans, and then try to move those forward to a goal, and then achieve the goal. But I know a lot of people, some of them wear the same uniforms. That's fine with them. That's what they want to do. It doesn't bother me. But we didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We went to church together. Mm-hmm. We went to all of the school activities that involved our kids. We talked to our kids together, mm-hmm. and we did a lot of things of that sort. We did travel, but it wasn't a passion. Mm-hmm. It's just where we thought we should go, mm-hmm. and we just did that. But that all started by talking together. When you can't talk, you got a problem.
Right.
Because I can't read your mind.
Right.
And no matter how hard I try, I can't read your mind.
Mm-hmm.
There are things you're thinking about I could never have thought about.
So communication is key.
Communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
If you, I promise you, if you can talk, you got it made. If you could, but be honest. It's hard to be honest sometimes when you're married. Mm-hmm. But you got to be honest. Mm-hmm. Start out that way and continue to be that way. But everything you do it in the face of love. I love my wife. I love my husband. And think about when you first met, how you felt then. Sometimes we get gain weight and people get upset and all this tight and they want to leave and create all kind of problems in the family. You have to take what you get. You know what you're doing wrong, and if you would really want to change, you can change it. There's no way. Anything you want in life, if you're with God, I promise you, you can get it. Now, while we're on this, I gotta tell you something just came to my mind. I don't know who will watch this. I don't know who. I hope a lot of people do, but I don't know that. But I want to tell everybody who's looking at this tonight, who's going to see this eventually, tell you something that I guarantee you is true. I don't know how you feel about God. I know there's controversy on both sides. There is no God. Well, let me give you my experience. I'll just give you one. I can give you 20, but I'm going to give you one. And it's going to take a couple minutes. I was working for Michigan State University as the associate director, that's not true. I was anyway, I was next in charge of director of athletics. George Perlis was the head football coach and director of athletics, and I came in to be the top administrator while George was coaching. We went to Cleveland, Ohio, and played a game in Columbus, but folks from Cleveland there, and they asked George, could he come back one day and speak to the Michigan State University Alumni Club in Cleveland. And George told him yes. Said, if I can't, Clarence will. So it became my responsibility for George. They asked us to come back during the football season. George couldn't go. So I flew into Cleveland, Ohio, and rented a car at the airport to go downtown where the alumni were. And as I went down there, participated, spoke briefly. Now it's about 9:30 at night. I'm on my way back to the hotel at the airport so I can get the flight tomorrow morning, come back to East Lansing. As I left the facility where we had dinner, and maybe drove about 5 or 6 miles, the car I was driving broke down. It just conked out. Bloop, 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 bloop. Conked out. And I was able to get to the side of the road. I am not a mechanic. This is at 9:30 at night. I opened the hood, looked in there. I didn't know what I was looking at, just opened the seat and then slammed it back, and that was that darkness. At that time in my life, I was jogging 6 miles a day, 7 days a week. I could have easily jogged someplace where I saw a light. Where my car stopped, there was absolutely no light around, except for the cars passing us and coming toward us. There was not a house, there was not a building, there was nothing in sight. And I asked the Lord, Lord, what am I going to do? Because I think it was Bill Cosby's son had been killed in California on the highway trying to change a tire that same week. I put the hood down, I sat in the car. I said, Lord, what am I going to do? When I said the second time, sitting in the car, you may not believe this, but a car pulled up on the other side of the road and stopped. I mean, it wasn't that he was going slowly and then stopped. No. He was going, zoop. The person got out of the car, didn't linger, came across the 2 lanes, the median, and right to me. And he says to me, I see that you have car troubles. I said, yes, I do. He said, I have a car just like yours. I know what's wrong with it. Get back in the car. I have your car started in a few seconds. He did. I opened the hood. I got in the car. Start your car. I did. He walked back. Then I drove about half a mile. Lord, what in the world was that? I mean, how could that man know there were trees? Why did he know to come down, stop abruptly, and get out of that car and didn't hesitate? I mean, didn't put the foot on the ground, kept walking toward me. Wow. I mean, I was astonished. Mm-hmm. I was scared. Mm-hmm. Lord, what is this? Mm-hmm. What was that? Right. God heard me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I want to give him all the credit in the world. God heard me. Mm-hmm. And God sent that man.
Absolutely. He works in mysterious ways.
He works in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does.
And as far as I'm concerned, I told my church this. There is a God.
Absolutely.
People don't believe it. There is a God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Clarence, you were number 5 of 11 living children.
Yes.
And you were named for your father.
Yes.
So were the previous 4 children all girls?
No. There were a girl, and a boy, and a girl. I was number 5. Then there were 2 other girls, and I think 5 or 6 other boys. And the ones that died prematurely, stillborn, one was a girl, one was a boy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Why do you think they chose to give you his name?
I don't know.
You don't know the story behind why they didn't give the first boy his name. Interesting.
Don't know.
Interesting.
I wondered this myself.
Tell me about the establishment of the scholarship at our church, Trinity AME Church, in your wife's name.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
That was something that I thought she deserved. She had been so nice to me, and I wanted to do something for her, but I knew some things we had planned that we couldn't do because now she's gone. And she had bought, not me. I started out buying her clothing when we were first married, when she couldn't travel too much to go to the store to get fitted for clothing. I would buy her clothing for Christmas and Easter and things like that. But she started buying her own clothing, and they all were quality clothing. Everything she had was quality. And I don't mean in terms of just paying a lot of money for them, even though she did. But she enjoyed wearing, but she wasn't a person to flaunt anything or brag about anything or try to show off in some way. She never, ever had that kind of spirit. And so when she died, a lot of them was fairly new. I felt we should give those away to the church, to somebody else. The church put a scholarship in her name. And so far, it has been successful. And I'm glad that one lady in church showed me a dress she had bought and how proud she was of the dress. Now that just filled my heart full of joy.
Absolutely.
And others have bought things too and told me about it. And then there were some things which I shouldn't talk about, but I didn't give away. I gave them away, but maybe I should have brought them to church, put it that way. And I feel bad about that. But nevertheless, I was proud of to give away what we did, and we all gave it all away. And I don't feel shame in anything we gave because I know where she bought them, how much she paid for them, and it was all from her heart.
Beautiful, beautiful. And something that I bet a whole lot of people don't know about you is that you were once an entertainment promoter.
Yes.
Surprise!
Yeah, surprise. Yeah.
Everything has been about
Yeah,
education,
education. Yes.
but
Yeah.
Clarence loves
Yeah, I
music.
love music.
And tell us about this section of your life.
Okay. It's a funny thing about life. When I was telling someone last night, I was listening to the radio, heard some songs I hadn't heard in a long time. And I told this person that I heard some songs, just like I just said, hadn't heard in a long time, and they made me cry because I could relate to them. When I was a little boy, 3 and 4 years of age, my mother told me, and I remember these, but I can't put them in any kind of space or time. But my mother and father slept in the front room, and we slept. My sister and myself slept in the second room. Where I lived, boys and girls slept together, so it was no big deal. It was family. But on Sunday morning, there will be some radio program coming from Birmingham, Alabama, which is about 60 miles away from Gaston, my hometown. And I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning when everybody else in bed, and we had a floor radio player in my father and mother's room. And I would get up on Sunday mornings at 6 o'clock and go in there and turn the radio on to listen to that radio station and listen to that music. And I just enjoyed music. I couldn't play anything, but I just like my dad. I couldn't play a thing, but I love to listen to music. I really do. I could listen to music all day long and never get tired of it. Different kinds of music. So I don't know where they came from. I really don't know. But so when I came to Mission State and married and teaching school in East Lansing and all that stuff, we formed a development fund, really, among 3 guys. We all worked for the Secretary of State's office at night. And so they said, we got to find a way to make some money. 3 of us, all of us in school at Michigan State. And so one guy thought about, let's bring in somebody and highlight them and see if we can promote them and make some money. Well, the first person we brought in was a guy from Detroit, Michigan, who played 2 pianos at the time, one on here, one there, and banging them in. It was great. He was an entertainer. I don't know his name, but I know that one of the guys in our group found him in Detroit. And we played in a hall in Mason. It was a Masonic hall in Mason. And we had maybe about 500 people to come out there. And we didn't make any money, but we broke even. But I really did enjoy it. My eyes was this big watching those entertainers on that stage. I had never seen one. And so then we met again. And we said, let's go bigger. Well, this time I was the one who introduced the group. I said, let's bring in Ike and Tina Turner. And we did. We brought them in there. We played in the Dells out by Lake Lansing Road. Lake Lansing, not Lake Lansing Road. We had them out there, Ike and Tina Turner and that band. I mean, you thought my eyes were big the first time. They were really big now. They couldn't close. They were looking so tight at those people. I just enjoyed them. Just enjoyed the way they moved, the way they danced, the way they sung. Everything was just highlighted as far as I was concerned. This was like, man, I haven't been to heaven yet, but this is almost heaven here. I really did enjoy it. Then we got really serious. We brought in another group. And then the guy said, Clarence, we're not going to make any money off this. This is just stuff to have fun with, and we're not going to make any money. It made $200 or so. I said, okay, you guys can stop if you want to, but I'm going to do it. And then I brought in James Brown, If I may take a minute on that one, just about a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So we had James Brown. Before he arrived, we sold quite a few tickets. And so James Brown came into the facility, Civic Center in Lansing. And I told James Brown, I said, James, uh, we're not going to make much money tonight. Something I had told Jerry Butler earlier. Sunday night, show started 8 o'clock. We had that place, seats 5,000. We had about 200 people in there, 200 or 300 people. And James Brown let me see. He came from behind the stands in the auditorium. He said, man, you're going to do well tonight, really well. So from 200 or 300 people early on, but when the show started, we had 3,000 people in that center. James Brown put on a tremendous show, and people were very happy. And so again, I had underestimated the crowd that we would have. And then we brought in the Motown show. I think it was about 10 people from the Motown show came here for an act. And we brought in Wilson Pickett. And we brought in Jerry Butler. And we brought in the lady from Sing It Last. Who's that? Ella
Fitzgerald?
No. At last my love has come along.
Ella.
Etta James. Etta James.
Yes.
So we kept bringing these shows in. Then we expanded out to Flint, Michigan, and also to Muskegon, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a lovely, lovely time. I enjoyed every bit of it. Even though I said we didn't make a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that we brought them here and we were successful in getting them paid and earning about $200 or $300 ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
that was a success.
Sure.
And we really enjoyed that. And I've always still loved music. I was sitting there last night crying over songs I was listening to.
Mm-hmm.
I just love to listen to music.
Yeah, they touch the heart.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm. Clarence, have I missed anything?
I don't think you covered a lot. You covered a lot. I tell you covered my whole life.
That was exactly my intent.
You did.
This is in celebration of your 90th birthday.
Yes, 90th birthday, and I'm happy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I have to say this publicly. I thank God. I thank God for what He's done for me.
Yes.
Yes.
I have one final question then, and that is, your parents were married for how many years?
They got married in 1908.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one died was about 1977.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, so
but
I don't know.
Well over 50 years.
Yeah, well, I know. My dad died at 69.
Okay.
And mother died at 82.
Okay.
That's what I do know. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And they were only married to one another.
Yes.
Okay. So what impact do you think being raised as a young man with both of your parents, what impact do you think that had on your ability to mimic that?
Well, I don't think much. I really don't. Sport-wise, physical-wise, my dad did a lot of work until he was, I guess, 68. He died at age 69. My mother went to 82. She never worked in her life, but my mother, she left something, a legacy for us, all of us. My mother was the most ethical woman I've ever seen, ever heard of. You couldn't do anything right or wrong in the house and get away with it. And don't repeat it. First time you may do it and she'll accept it and talk to you and explain what you should not have done, why you shouldn't have done it, what the problems are in there. But she wouldn't expect you to do it the second time. without some consequences, mostly whipping and some other stuff she might do. But my dad, he was I would say, the one that kept things going by working so hard. He worked a lot, 7 days a week. He had to feed that many people. And but my mother was the one that talked about morals and talked about what is right, what is wrong, and that's what she expected you to behave, you're right or wrong. And she was deep. I mean, she would come at you at a time, and you think that maybe you gotten away with something. No, she knew all about it, and you got to pay the price. And that's just the way she was. She just didn't take much junk off anybody, and you mess up, you pay for it. And that's so. I think that's what I keep coming back to with things I have encountered in my work, where I had a choice to go wrong or right. And I, as best I can tell, I went right because of my mother. Now, I don't think my father gave me that. My father intervened when mother asked him to. Like if, for example, we did something that was so egregious that my mother said, okay, I'm letting my dad handle this one. Let your dad handle this one. And man was crazy with a whip. He just hit you in the head, so he didn't know where he hit you. But my mother was a standard bearer of our house. She was the one that kept everybody straight and everybody thinking straight and walking straight and doing the right thing. And so I don't think that they didn't do much physically, but other than the fact that you better do right about whatever you're going to do, and but that's the way it was. My dad was a hard worker. He expected you to be a hard worker. We helped him on the weekend sometimes, and if you didn't do it right, he said, do it over. No big deal. Just go ahead and do it over. Dad is hot. I don't care how hot it is. Boy, go out there and do it right, and I'm going to be watching. That's the way it would be. But my grandmother, my grandfather lived about the same age as their children, my dad and their daughter-in-law. But I just give the credit to where I am right now. In everything I do, I give it totally to God. I just feel that He's the one that's keeping me alive and doing what I think I should be doing and what He wants me to do. I give Him the praise and credit for that. I really do.
He deserves all the credit, that's for sure. God is good all the time.
All the time. And I pray often. And just keep praying. I remember as a little boy going to walk elementary school. We would go to Sunday school on Sunday, and I would walk to school sometime alone because I would be late getting dressed or something like that. I always would pray all the way to school. Pray to God. And I still do. And I always will.
Beautiful.
But I promise you, there is a God.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Well, what I see as the central theme is this work ethic.
Yes.
You've been successful in your career life, in your personal life, in terms of your care of yourself. You've been a great steward of the gifts that God has endowed you with. And you were successful in your marriage. And again, I think the central theme is this work ethic. I see where when you start something, you finish it. I see where you are strategic and goal-oriented and thoughtful so that your decision-making is methodical. And there's a huge message there for the young, the old, and everyone in between. And that is to be careful, be thoughtful, be methodical, be faithful. Honor your inheritance from God. Follow that is within you. even when people don't understand your direction. They may not agree with it, they may not support it, but your job is to honor what God has endowed your spirit with. Develop it, grow it, have faith in it. And that's what I see in your life story. And so I thank you for the man that you are. I thank you for a heart that transfers to other hearts. And I thank you for sharing and sitting here with me today. It means a lot, and I think it will inspire a lot of people. So everyone, I thank you for tuning in. I ask that you like and share this video and leave a comment in support of 90 years of life, of service, of family life, career life, spiritual life, a Christian walk. Leave a comment that lets us know what you think about this video. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day. Bye now.